Hi, welcome, Professor Kevshik. I'm Evan Nakul with us from Safira. Good afternoon, my
How's it
friend.
going?
The show. So let's jump right in. Tell me about the company. Why'd you start it?
Yeah, for sure. So, me and my friend, I've known him since like second grade. We've worked on like a ton of stuff together. And we were like working on a party finder app that we had at our both of our colleges. I go to UIUC, he goes to Berkeley, and we were kind of doing some experimentation with that. And he texted me one day, and he was like, dude, I just watched Divergent, and I was like, okay, sick. And he was like, you know that one scene where they have like the selection ceremony or whatever, and they have like this kind of VR like simulation where they have like events thrown at them, and then based on the events, like they get their personality traits detected, and then they can kind of like they figure out like what's the best career for them. He was like, that's like pretty sick, and like compare that to like what we have, and like for us, I mean, we were seeing all of our friends kind of like starting to do like job applications and start to look at careers and stuff. And it was just like a lot of leet coding and a lot of like manual interviews and applying to jobs. And we were like, the like all selection processes should just be a cool like VR simulation where you're able to like get your like all your potential, everything about you just like detected in one go, right? So like we were kind of thinking about that, and like we had a ton of problems with like the way current like school works as well, because like everyone just does clubs and all these different things just to like pad their resume so they can get past the resume screener and then hopefully get an interview. And nothing is really like people aren't just learning to learn, which that's how we think it should be while you're in college. So we were like, okay, so it's super manual from our end as candidates. Let's talk to like some businesses and see if they have the same problem. So we found a few like recruiters and we talked to them, and we basically found that they had very similar issues. Where for them, they were getting like thousands and thousands of candidates coming in, and they had to like review all of the resumes. And like for them, like ideally they would want to talk to every single person and get a sense of who they are, what they're like. But like you just can't do that when you have like 40,000 applicants to a job.
Sure.
So they have to resort to things like resume screeners, which incentivizes resume padding from students. So the entire system was just like bogus, right? So we basically decided to like start working on like something that could like help get around that. And we came upon the idea of AI conversational interviews, which we're building right now.
So tell me about the process of building this, because it doesn't seem like the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So basically what we have is we have a tool where businesses can create a job. They can put in a job description, the kind of scoring criteria or personality traits that they're looking for. And then they can put in like their own custom questions, and then like we can also generate questions for them based on the candidate's resume and the job description. So what's cool about this like AI tool basically is it'll talk to the candidate. So it's a voice agent essentially. So it'll have these questions that it asks, and then it detects the voice, like the speech of the person that's talking to it, and then based on that, it'll ask new questions and figure out things of the personality of like the candidate's personality traits. So it's been a cool process just building it out. Surprisingly, the hard part hasn't really been the interview. It's been actually kind of the wrapping around it, right? So like kind of that dashboard for businesses. What are the things that they really want to see? How do we make it look nice for them? What are like some random feature, like every time we get a new feature request, how do we build this into the existing platform and still make it like feel and look the way it should? So the actual interviewer was the fun part, but now a lot of our work is just like we're basically done coding now, and we're on a sales sprint. So we're trying to scale up our sales. We're trying to talk to like as many people as possible, get any referrals wherever we can to talk to new people, and just trying to sell like I mean, not just sell the product, but just build good relationships with people so that it makes like getting information for the future a lot easier.
Okay, so I sort of kind of have it, but I'm from Boston. My accent's a little bit much. There's no R's in Boston.
Yeah.
When I'm answering the questions, can it detect that it's not like throwing out random words? Because sometimes when I record videos and I see the trends, I'm like, that wasn't even close. How do you factor that in? Is it in different languages too?
Yeah, so we have like so we use the DeepGram API for that. So it's pretty good at like detecting different accents. A lot of our people that we have taking these interviews are actually like international Indian like students and new graduates that take these interviews, and it's able to pick up their like kind of what they say pretty well. So I mean, DeepGram has like a great API, and they also support different languages and stuff. So yeah, I mean, we've just been using that. We don't have our own like model that detects voice and stuff, which makes it a lot easier for us. But yeah, it can handle that stuff.
So the company builds the job, puts together the questions, candidates take it, and then if it's a match, they get noticed, hey, this person is a match for your job. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's essentially like just the current way how so we are supposed to work alongside their ATS, which is applicant tracking system. So the way it works there is when you create a job and then you get a bunch of resumes, each resume is basically a candidate that and they'll show up in kind of this list, right? So as you decide to like it'll do the resume screening and it'll shortlist the candidates and then you just move on from the candidates from there. So our tool is kind of like an add-on. So there's current existing ATS companies that are like pretty hard to overthrow. We can't do that yet. So what we're like an add-on link. So when you create a job in ATS and you kind of post it places, we're just a link. So the first step would just be, okay, once you've applied, follow this link and take this interview. So then we just showcase all of the candidates that clicked that link and applied on their dashboard, and they can see scores based on the scoring criteria that they wanted to see. So if they want to see like willingness to learn or technical skill or problem solving, we'll give scores for that and then display it for them, and then we do nothing after that. After that, they can just decide who to move forward with in their own ATS, and they can kind of manage their candidates from there. So we're kind of like that first step in the process. We're not trying to eliminate interviews. We really like interviews. We believe it should be person to person, but we're trying to eliminate the resume screener because that's kind of like the source of all this problem.
No, I'm definitely fascinated by what you're doing. How is it different than the existing stuff that's out there? That must be the question you get all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a pretty congested space. So there's like big companies like Mercor, like Micro One, Apriora, like a lot of companies are doing it. But where we're finding differentiation is we're focused on the soft skills. Our hypothesis is that it's more important for interviewers to understand the soft skills rather than the hard skills because you can build that up. So we really want our model to really portray the soft skills correctly and be able to detect that. Also, our kind of niche market that we want to go into is instead of like working with companies to help them with hiring, because that's kind of like what everyone's doing right now, we want to kind of be more focused on the staffing agencies. So for staffing agencies, their money comes from having clients and having enough candidates to feed to these clients and get people hired. So if what we can do is like currently a lot of their time is spent just like calling candidates, finding new candidates, training them, making sure they're ready for these jobs. If we can just handle that entire process for them, like we can filter them based on our AI interviews, and then we can also train them with our AI interviews. And then they can, the staffing agencies themselves can focus all of their time and efforts into getting new clients, getting new contracts. So that's how we can help them there. We also serve as like an integration tool. Like we can be completely white labeled. We like fit with HR tech companies that have like suites of softwares basically. So we integrate with them. And then we're also trying to find niche in universities and the career centers. Can we train college students with interviews using AI interviews? So differentiating the product is we're not thinking how can we differentiate from our competitors. We're more thinking what is our niche market and what are the problems that we're really trying to solve. And if it ends up being the same exact thing as our competitors, I mean, so well. But at least we'll be able to solve that problem for our set of customers.
Crystal ball time, my friend. What's the future hold for the company?
Yeah, so the future, we are hoping that we can basically get by the end of this semester, basically around 15 to 20 like paying customers. That would be very ideal. And then long term, we basically see this being a VR company. So imagine you are going to take a job interview, and instead of opening your computer and hopping on Zoom, you instead put on your VR headset and you're put in like Mission Impossible, and you're like Tom Cruise. You have like a deadline to solve a problem, and you have a bunch of like kind of AI people around you to interact with. You have to use all of your skills. You have to use all your problem solving, decision making, and your personality to like talk to these people, figure out how to solve the problem, and actually do it. If we can make all the selection process in the world, whether it's applying to college, whether it's trying to get a new job. If we can make all of that just based around this one cool kind of movie-like thing that you do that puts you in a real world scenario, actually sees you solve the problem, you can't prep for it, right? Because it's literally just who you are. That would be amazing, and we would really want to do that because we think that it'll free people instead of worrying about how do I pad my resume, how do I leak code enough so that I know how to like solve these like crack these interviews. Instead, they'll be thinking about, okay, how can I level up as a person, right? Like, how can I learn skills that I really like and enjoy and can talk deeply about? That's what we think students should be focused on, and hopefully, that's the future that we can create.
Sounds amazing. What's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more, my friend?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me at nakunjt0@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on our website or just email Aman at safirahiring.com. That's AMAN at safirahiring.com.
Awesome. Appreciate you taking a few minutes calling the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Yep, for sure. See ya.